Welcome to the channel, people. I'm Seb. My channel is To Live is to Suffer, where we're teaching men how to become real men out here. Today I'm going to be reacting to a video by Jordan Peterson on a podcast. I'll put full link to the description of the video in the description below so you can watch the original video and support the channel. But today I've not seen the video. I think it's about nearly 10 minutes long, but I'm going to fly through it, hear what the man's got to say. I've not seen this video yet. I just pulled it up on my timeline, and I think it's good because I want to know about, we're going to discuss people with fewer friends. And my son, one of my sons is a youth that don't really have a lot of friends, and I'm a man that don't really have a lot of friends. So when I come across these kind of topics, I like to understand more about people that don't really keep friends. Let's go.
Things that I've realized is that people that are self-reflective, that rely on cerebral horsepower, that pay attention, that think in a detailed way, the more nuanced that your thinking is, the fewer people are going to be like you, which makes you feel more alone.
Yeah.
How do you think people can overcome this?
Yeah. Come on, Peterson.
Well, I would say that hasn't been my experience exactly.
Yeah.
Because as I started to make my thoughts more public, they seem to appeal to more and more people. And so I don't know if that's a threshold phenomena, because maybe it is, you know. As you start to become specialized as a scientist, in some sense your vision narrows and narrows, although it gets more high resolution at the level that you're operating. But you kind of pass through a needle, let's say, out the other side where the thing you're studying starts to become everything again. And so maybe that's that developmental progression.
Further, more.
Yeah, specialization and then
generalization again. I think that you might be right there. The deeper into the breach thing, the show that I went to go and see you do in Manchester in 2017 or 18, someone asked a question about the depth of my consciousness causes me to suffer, and you said you take more of the thing that poisons you until...
Yeah, I like that term, the depth of my consciousness causes me to suffer. I've heard that question asked a few times by a few people, but that is a really profound question. The depth of my consciousness causes me to suffer. And I like that because what it shows is that when you become a deep thinker, when you're a person that doesn't surround yourself but with the crowd, and you become a deep thinker, your consciousness becomes deeper. And the more your consciousness becomes deeper, the more you're aware of the foolishness that's around you in society, you know?
You turn it into a tonic that girdles the world around you. And I think that this is something you see here as well, that when you start to think differently, when you start to consider the way that you're living your life in a more detailed, higher resolution, more unique, more nuanced way.
Yeah, and I like that fact that when you're more considered, when you spend time alone, and your consciousness is deeper, and the depth of your consciousness does allow you to think deeper, you can look at the world in a much more high resolution zoom factor. You see a lot more details. You see a lot more details when your consciousness is deeper. A lot more details.
You will probably receive pushback, especially, you know, speaking from personal experience, in a normal working class towns, people born, live, die in these places. It's insular. There isn't a huge culture of, especially in the UK, tall poppy syndrome is a huge problem. The biggest difference that I've noticed actually between America...
What does he mean by tall poppy syndrome? Someone put that down in the comments, what he means by tall poppy syndrome. I've not heard that British expression before.
People and English people is that American children are told that they can be anything that they want to be. They're told that they have blue sky vision, they can achieve whatever they want. And that gives them a lot of confidence. When us Brits...
Yeah, American children are taught about business. They're taught to run their own business. You know, making a lot of money in America is the thing to do, to run your own business, not to rely on the state, you know, to have a small state and high capitalist business and make money in America is a good thing to do. In Britain, it's more taboo to be rich, to be wealthy. You know, the wealthy hide in the UK. They're not outlandish with it. They're more subtle. They're more quiet. It's old aristocracy where the history of wealth is coming from in Britain, but in America, they are taught more about wealth and wealth aspiration. That's for sure.
Stuffy, stiff upper lip Brits see Americans on TV. It sounds like everyone's had media training because everybody's just so enthused about whatever it is, even if it's a 18-car pilot. And then the equivalent in the UK is that deviating from the norm is very, very, very quickly mocked. And
there's a lot of that in Canada too.
Tall poppy syndrome, it's a big deal. Now,
tall poppy syndrome. It must be something to do with envy and proximity. The philosopher Alain de Botton, he introduced me to a formula that envy is in direct proportion to proximity. So maybe tall poppy syndrome is what he's talking about here. So I'll say it again for people in the cheap seats. The philosopher's formula was envy is in direct proportion to proximity. So what that means is people are only envious of you of the people who are close to you. So I'm not envious of King Charles because I'm nowhere near in proximity to King Charles of Britain. I wasn't grown with him. I didn't go to school with him. But King Charles' brother, the Duke of Edinburgh, he must be jealous that his brother's the king because he's in direct proximity to the king. He grew with the king, run up and down with the king, play in the same playground as the king, went to the same schools as the king. So he would be jealous because he's close to the king, that King Charles is king. But I'm not jealous that King Charles is king, but or envious. But maybe if I had some successes, the people that grow close to me, they will be the people that will be envious of me, not people that are far away from me, not people that don't have proximity to me. So the tall poppy syndrome, from what I'm hearing here and what I think it is that envy is in direct proportion to proximity. So watch the people who are closest to you, in close proximity to you, because they might have that tall poppy syndrome, what this man is talking about, and watch the people that are closest to you and how they're going to envy you. Yeah.
The Japanese have that saying too, except it's the nail that sticks up above all the rest is the first one to be struck down by the hammer.
That's it.
And there's some truth in that too. There's some truth in that.
Yeah,
but
there is some truth in that.
Some and all are very different words.
Yeah,
when you roll the clock forward, what you end up with is American children that then become adults who look around at the world and say, well, hang on, this wasn't what I was promised.
Yeah.
I was told that I could be anything that I wanted to be. I was told that I could have anything that I wanted to have.
There's a difference between you can earn everything.
The American dream, baby. Let me tell you something in life, yeah? And I'll tell this to the men watching this channel and the men trying to be real men. And I'll give you this breakdown. You can have anything you want as a man, but you can't have everything you want. Just let me say that again for people in the cheap seats, yeah? You can have anything you want as a man, but you cannot have everything you want. And I think the American dream is to have everything you want, but that is not attainable. But you can have anything, but not everything. Yeah.
Thing that is earnable, and you deserve everything there is. So that message can become what you say, it can become misinterpreted in a narcissistic manner. And I think that has happened to some degree, especially as people have had fewer and fewer children. Jonathan Haidt and Luke Yanoff talk about the coddling of the American mind, and they think about that in large part as a consequence of an ideological transformation.
Yeah.
And some of that's true, but it's also useful to look at more fundamental phenomena. People have children when they're a lot older.
Yeah.
They have way fewer children. They have way more resources when they have children on average. If you're one kid of 8, you're pretty much battling it out for attention, for a very finite amount of parental attention with a lot of intense competition.
Yeah, people need to have some more children, man. People are just having, 1 or 2 kids, and they're starting to have their children at 38, 39, 40. That's when they're just starting. Times have changed. Times have really changed.
And the probability that you're going to come out of that entitled and narcissistic is pretty damn low, because your siblings will definitely punish you for that.
Oh, yeah.
But if you're the only child, especially of older parents who are also more conservative because of their age, and also less willing to take chances with you because there's only one of you, and then you have a lot of resources at your disposal, well, that's a whole different developmental
You end up spoiling the picnic.
milieu. And we have no idea what the consequences of that are, but the idea that children in that circumstance are more likely to be overprotected and dependent and structured, it's like, well, undoubtedly. And that would even be an overabundance of parental virtue in some sense, right? Well, we just did nothing but pay attention to our child. Okay, but too much.
What did you expect?
But I mean, maybe this is what Jordan Peterson is saying, is that why children are, growing up lonely is because these parents are only having one child, and they're having one child late in life, and they're mollycoddling the child and wrapping the child up in cotton wool and treating them like a daffodil. Maybe that's why a lot of people are lonely. When I was, coming up, people had 5, 6 kids. That was normal. That was normal shellings to have 5, 6 kids. And my grandparents' generation, they had 10, 12, 13 children, some of them 25, 30 children. All right, they couldn't feed all of them. That's for sure. They couldn't feed all of them, but they did look after a whole heap of them, and they were, they do end up being productive members of society, most of them from the old school. So maybe what Jordan Peterson's saying is that, with more education, more development, more progression in the economy, that people are just being raised more lonely. Like maybe it's starting from how they're beginning in their family life. Damn.
Expect. Yeah. It's so strange because I'm an only child, right? And all of maybe my friends might say differently, but a lot of the commonly held presumptions around only children, and I have a couple of friends who are as well, and I don't know whether it's where we're from, that the northeast of the UK is very spit and sawdust, it's salt of the earth people, it's, grab your bootstraps and your boots and start pulling.
Subscribe.
And I just haven't seen that. What is it? Through your clinical practice, would there
this might not be a primarily working class phenomena, the coddled mind phenomena. That could easily be a middle class and upper phenomena.
Is there something, was there a common trend? Or?
Right, so what Jordan Peterson's saying is that there is a phenomena called the coddled phenomena. I'm going to have to look that up and see if it's actually a philosophy or a psychology, what people are picking up now, the coddled phenomena, why, it's leading to people becoming more lonely, like, and having fewer friends because they're just being raised in cotton wool and raised on their own and not raised as part of a brood or part of a team, or, getting bashed around with your family and your cousins and your brothers and your sisters. That's possibly why people are just becoming more lonely now and having fewer friends, because they just don't have any. Your friends are mainly your family, your cousins, your brothers, your sisters. That's mainly your friends growing up. And you got 1 or 2 outside friends, which is just your neighbors. That's it. But mostly when we was growing up, our friends was our family. Yeah.
So from your reading, have you found that only children tend to be one way or another?
No.
So you just get huge variance in them as well?
I don't know the answer to that at the level of individual psychological data. There might be a literature. I'm not aware of it. That, for me, that was more a response to Haidt's book on the coddled mind. I thought, okay, fair enough. Coddling of the American mind. What's driving this? It's not just ideas. It's a huge demographic switch. It's a huge transformation in the way we raise children. Right. We're 10 years older when we have our children now. That's a lot older.
10 years older when we have children now. So that means women are having children in their 30s, because women were having children in their 20s. So now they're having children in their 30s. God. So then the norm is soon going to be geriatric pregnancy then. That's soon to be the norm. That's embarrassing.
When you're 18 and you have a kid, you're still a kid. And that there's some wildness that's perhaps not so good about that. But there's also perhaps a higher proclivity to go off and live your own life. And then, how much should your children be left on their own? Answer is as much as they can tolerate.
Yeah, for them to grow.
And how much is that? Well,
For them to grow strong.
You find out with each child.
Yeah.
But it's certainly possible to not deprive your child enough.
Well, let me just flip you lot out and tell you that that was a very interesting video. I've learned that there is you know, a coddling philosophy, that you're raising children on their own, you're wrapping them in cotton wool, you're not raising them with other siblings, because you're having people are having children more later in life. They've got more money, they're more conservative, they're less likely to bash them about, but they're less likely to have 2, 3, 4 children. So children are actually growing up lonely, and that loneliness is transferring into adulthood. And you know, this is not a good thing, because a lonely man is can be an angry man, and lonely, angry, you know, emotional men are dangerous for society, and we don't want that. Well, if you got this far in the video, thank you very much. I'm Seb. My channel is To Live and To Suffer, where we teach men how to be real men. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching the video, and I catch you on the next one. Peace.